Good morning, everyone. The date is May 30th, 1955, and I am honored to welcome each and every one of you to the Indiana University Psychological Science Convention. Ladies and gentlemen, we've heard from many great speakers this morning, and I am thrilled to introduce our next guest. Now, our next guest is a man whose name carries great notoriety in the field of psychology, Dr. Alfred C. Kinsey. Now, a little bit about Dr. Kinsey first. He's an American biologist and professor of entomology and zoology, and sexologist whose work has heavily affected our understanding of various various aspects of psychology as a discipline of study overall. He is arguably considered one of the most influential Americans of the 20th century. Excuse me. Dr. Kinsey is known for his landmark studies of male and female sexual behavior that have helped usher in a sexual revolution, so to speak, really beginning in the era that we're in right now, the mid-1950s. Dr. Kinsey was born in Hoboken, New Jersey on June 23rd, 1894. He was academically gifted from the get-go. He became a student of applied biology at Harvard University, where he came under the influence of an eminent field biologist, William Morton Wheeler, well known in his area and discipline during that time. He quickly advanced up the academic ranks, did not take him very long at all, which is really a vivid display of his academic acceleration compared to most others in his various fields of work. He became a full-on professor in just 1929. Arguably one of his most noteworthy accomplishments is the fact that he founded the Institute for Sex Research at Indiana University in 1947. The institute, which is now known as the Kinsey Institute for Research in Sex, Gender, and Reproduction. He first arrived to Indiana University in 1920, only a year after receiving his PhD in biology from Harvard University. Now, for 20 years he studied gal wasps, but in 1938, his studies took a dramatic shift. He began teaching marriage and family, a course for senior and married IU students. This was definitely sort of far-fetched compared to what he was working on in biology. Now, furthermore, his study into the subject of sex increased during this time, and he eventually began collecting sex histories to strengthen his research. A mere 3 years later, Kinsey gathered nearly 2,000 sex histories. I believe the actual number is 1,800 something, and earned $1,600, which is a good amount of money during that time period. A $1,600 grant from the National Research Council's Committee for Research on the Problems of Sex. I believe it's safe to say that Kinsey's work is almost pretty much the first of its kind during that time period. But even more impressive is the fact that by 1947, the committee had funded the Kinsey team with a $40,000 grant. Good work, if you ask me. Now, Kinsey's work transcended the field of sexology, most notably via the contribution of the Kinsey Reports. In January of 1948, W.B. Saunders and Company published the first volume of the results of the ISR research team, Sexual Behavior in the Human Male. This volume was wildly popular and quickly became number 2 in the New York Times bestsellers list. The complementary work, Sexual Behavior in the Human Female, also by W.B. Saunders and Company, was published in 1953. So not that much time had passed, which, between the production and publishing of these works, which is quite impressive. These works together became known as the Kinsey Reports that many of us are familiar with today. And really, they were known by that title in the media and popular culture, so that's kind of what coined it. But Kinsey's work did not stray far from controversy. Controversy stormed the 1940s and 50s due to Kinsey's research on sexual behavior. And believe it or not, much of the controversy surrounded several aspects of Kinsey's research. His research went beyond theory. An interview it went beyond theory and interview, which what we see in classical experimentation settings, and it included observation and actual participation in sexual activity, sometimes involving coworkers. Now, Kinsey justified such methodology as being necessary to gain the confidence of his research subjects, which I can understand that. Further, some of the data we've seen in the Kinsey Reports book is controversial in both the scientific and psychiatric communities, basically due to Kinsey's decision to interview volunteers who may not have been representative of the general population. I believe that they argued there was a little bit of bias in Kinsey's decisions for who he chose to participate in the experiment. Also, a lot of people have argued that Kinsey's work focused on the biological aspect of sexual behavior, and that it really lacked psychological and clinical information and analysis. Just depends on your opinion, I suppose. Still, Kinsey's work has undoubtedly contributed to an overall better grasping of various components of sexual behavior in both men and women. I believe that without the contributions that Alfred C. Kinsey made to the field of sexology and really to the field of psychology overall, has really taken us to a level that we really may not have been obtainable in the past. So, it is with great honor that I welcome him to this year's Psychological Science Convention, really in commemoration of the devotion, dedication, and contributions made to understanding sexology and spreading that understanding in the form of works, research, published books, articles that students and faculty all over the country continue to dive into. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Alfred Charles Kinsey.